Do you ever think about what it might mean to you financially if you or someone you love needs long-term care? Believe me, it can cost you. I know from experience. This is Bruce Porter from the Resource Center. Planning ahead, Bruce, can save you a fortune.
Yes, it absolutely can. And you know, we've used this line before. Planning pays off. And in regards to long-term care, extended care planning, having the time to actually sit down with your family and spend time discussing the what-ifs is invaluable. Because you and I both know, we've dealt with it in our families. When the time comes and somebody's already in care, it's too late to have the discussion. Now you're in panic mode. Now you're having to very quickly try to figure out how we're going to pay for this care.
And talk about that. Talk about the cost of long-term care.
Well, I mean, the cost of long-term care, I think we would all agree, is going to be accelerating as we all get older. You know, mortality tables keep going up. We're going to live longer. I jokingly say that they're going to keep us alive long enough to milk us for every dime we got, right? Well, with long-term care hovering around an average of $6,000 a month right now, what you got to understand is when you go to care, somebody's going to pay that bill. So part of that bill is going to come out of your regular income, Social Security, pensions, whatever you have. The deficiency of the bill is going to be covered by your spouse at home trying to figure out how to liquidate your assets to cover the bill. Meanwhile, your spouse is trying to figure out how to maintain their own standard of living without your income. So it continues to get more complicated as the plot thickens, you might say.
No doubt.
And so paying attention to some type of planning early on, while you got your wits about you, spending time with your kids, discussing how you want your care handled, I think that's important. That way your kids aren't burdened with making decisions that you should have helped them make.
Exactly.
So, you know, all this makes sense to plan early, have the conversation. We're more than happy to sit down and help give you information to have a dialogue with your family. We'll be glad to help you develop a plan. You know, not everybody can afford insurance to buy to offset the cost. Not everybody's got a lot of assets. So for some folks, it's not as big an issue as it is when you have something you're wanting to protect.
Exactly.
So everybody's situation is different. So plan early, and then you have time to work it out.
Exactly. And you brought up a couple of issues. First of all, it costs a lot. So what are you willing to give up? What would you have to sell to help fund your stay in long-term care? So think about that. You don't want to lose those things. But thing two that you alluded to is that insurance. There are ways that you can sort of counteract the high cost of this having to do with an insurance policy with a certain rider. What is that all about?
Well, riders came along a few years ago because the cost of long-term care insurance was high. So there was a rider developed called a return of premium rider. Well, the problem with that, in my opinion, it doubled the cost of the insurance. Now, if you're struggling to pay for the basic coverage, if you double the price, it's going to be a little harder to pay for. So that rider kind of became obsolete very quickly. So then the life insurance industry got involved with trying to help people plan for care. So they developed riders on insurance policies that allow you to access what they call living benefits. So while you're still alive, you're not gone, you're still alive, but you're confined to care, they allow your family to access the death benefit prior to your death. And they have limitations, but they have the ability for you to draw money out tax-free and help you pay for the cost of care while you're still alive. And they have their limitations, but it's a big help. And then the big advantage to that is when you do pass, those policies pay the balance in the death benefit. So you get the money back that it cost to pay for the premium, and ultimately it's about making sure money's available to help you when you need it, and that type of policy protects your other assets.
That's amazing.
So when we just finished the month of September discussing long-term or life insurance, the benefits of life insurance with long-term care type benefits and features are pretty much invaluable in what they offer at the end. So that has to be a consideration in our planning process.
So see, there are solutions, and it doesn't cost you anything to come in and at least start the conversation.
Absolutely.
Come visit with Bruce Porter at the Resource Center.